Welcome, everybody, to another session of State of the Thunder. This is volume 8. Look at us going around and being professional and doing things on time and maintaining a good schedule. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And thanks to all the people that have been watching the previous sessions on whatever, YouTube, Tilvid. We shared it also as a podcast episode. So if you're listening to this, thank you very much. We have a strange agenda today. We didn't get a lot of questions, but we got 3 conglomerated topics from multiple questions. So just to give an overview of the topics that we're going to discuss today, the first one is an update overview of our current roadmap. What are the things that we're working on and how are we doing? We are at the end of Q2. We're entering Q3. We're releasing the new extended support release. So let's take a look at the progress that we made and if we have any glimpse of what things might jump on the next year and we might not finish this year. We'll see, finger crossed. The next topic is a collection of different requests that we got from our contributors community. And I summarize with a simple question, which is, can you share the tips and tricks that you wish you had known when you started Thunderbird about the DevTools? And DevTools is a very powerful thing. And if you don't use it right away, you generally, probably every web developer knows it for web design, but you can actually use it inside Firefox and Thunderbird if you're developing. And there are a couple of interesting features that they're not really discoverable and they're nice to have. So we're going to look at a couple of those, not too deep. And then we have the last topic on the agenda, which is a very high level general question about why we ask donation, why we constantly ask for donation every year, the frequency of donations, and are we healthy, are we not healthy as an organization, all these type of things. I love that I get financial questions whenever Ryan is not around, so I can just answer by myself badly, and then Ryan needs to fix all the wrong things that I say. But no, it's going to be fine. That's perfect. Okay, let's jump right away with our roadmap update. So I'm going to share the roadmap document. And for the people that are listening to these as a podcast episode, I'm going to read all the things that are on the screen. So apologies for those that are watching, and it's going to be like a repetition of information. But let's scroll directly into our list of priorities, and we're going to tackle only the front end and the back end priorities for now. So our top 3 priorities ones, front end goals are this year: conversation view, calendar, UI and UX, and first time user experience. Conversation view, it's currently on hold. We have a work week schedule in September in Vancouver. We're going to have a bunch of engineers coming all together and implement the new conversation view front end attached to the new Panorama global message database backend. And it's very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to the outcome of this work week. In terms of prototyping and visual direction and design, we have all of that. I think in the past, maybe at the end of last year, we started sharing some of those wireframes and prototype. But if we're going to update those around July and August in preparation for Conversation View, and we're going to start sharing these all these updates to show you what is our objective for Conversation View. A couple of things that are going to happen during the work week in September. I am going to try, which is not a guarantee, but I'm going to try to create some quick, I don't know, recap notes for each day with a couple of pictures, a couple of images. Like, I'm not going to include people that don't want to be included in the picture, but it would be nice since it's a sort of like a 1-week sprint hackathon to make this happen, to give daily updates. And maybe those daily updates can be shared on our social media or as a series in our blog post. But I'm going to try to document all the progress, the objectives, how do we structure our day, what do we do in the morning, how do we structure this type of effort with multiple people in, and then sharing at the end of every day. So our community and everybody else in the team that is not part of the work week can see how we're doing and what's our progress. Anyone wants to add anything to conversation view?
Yeah, I just want to add that while we're talking about it getting done in Q3 and we're doing a work week in September, as far as you, the user, are concerned, I wouldn't expect to see it at the end of September because it is based on all the new database backend work that we are doing, and that will not be ready by then.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be developing a few new features on top of it, but we won't actually be able to release them. So hopefully by the time we do release them, they will have had a bunch of polish done as well, and they'll be looking really good. I would expect, and this is a real ballpark figure, I'm expecting to get that database work in the hands of some users at least by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really difficult to tell right now. There's a lot of work to be done yet.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and as usual, there is already a half-baked version of Conversation View that users can consume, and you can enable a preference in the settings. It's experimental and it's based on Gloda. But nonetheless, what we're going to do, or anything of all the things that we build, we're going to put them behind a preference. Sometimes the preference is just a written preference that you need to edit manually in your about config because we don't have the confidence of sharing the preference through a UI toggle. But in general, that's the approach. When we start having something concrete that is kind of usable and can be swapped between the old and new, we're going to expose a preference. So users on daily or beta, most likely, will be able to start consuming whatever we come out before the end of the year, with the usual objective of once we're confident, it's going to be enabled slowly on every release channel, then the monthly main release channel, and then hopefully it's going to hit all the ESR users. But once again, call to action, if you want to experience new features often and quicker, switch to our new release channel with monthly updates. It's going to be super exciting. The next priority here that we have is calendar, user interface, and user experience. I really want to have a State of the Thunder session just about the calendar UI and UX work because it's, first of all, it's incredible. The front-end team is churning a million different things. We're rebuilding everything from scratch with modular logic, lightweight components, reusable components, and it's fantastic. We almost finished the read event dialogue. The next step will be tackling the compose window, like the description, and we're going to use that as an occasion to implement a new compose window that that will be reused for the next year compose window. So a description box that you can write plain text, HTML, Markdown, and it styles everything, live reload, whatever it is. Something more modern, and we can start with this standalone component and then making it reusable. The reality of the fact here, and being completely honest and open, this will not be finished by Q2 because we're already at the end of Q2. Q2 ends in 2 weeks. Calendar UI and UX will continue throughout the entire year. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we're going to have completed the event dialogues, all the dialogues that you use for your calendar, plus an initial swipe of accessibility and usability improvements for the calendar grid. But as we work more and more on the calendar, it's a monster of a project, has 1,000,001 implementations. And currently we're focusing exclusively on the front end in order to decouple it as much as possible completely from the back end. So we can then tackle protocols and implement better the handling of the different protocols with the calendar, which are a completely different mess. So calendar most likely is a project that will continue throughout next year and will see the light of day or the full completion probably before ESR. And we've always been honest with what we can do with the calendar and how quickly we can move with the calendar because yes, it's a monolith, but coming along pretty fast. We already have preferences that you can switch on to consume the new event dialogues. Currently only read mode. You cannot write with the new event dialogue, but we're working on that. We hope that by the end of October, we're gonna be in a much better state and a lot more consumable things. So yeah, we're gonna release an official roadmap update for all this calendar stuff. Then the third one is the first time user experience. So Account Hub is officially enabled for ESR from the second email setup. We didn't enable it by default for first time user experiences because the startup code, it's a bit messy. This is a recurring theme that we have here. Everything that we do, it's a bit messy and we need to fix a lot of technical debt, but it's fine. But we finished the email setup. There are a couple of rough edge cases, things like exchange auth, auto config authentication. If it fails, we prompt the user with a manual password, add-ons, extensions to consume other protocols. The installation process is not as smooth. Like we're fixing all of those things, but the email experience is pretty good. It's 10 times better than what we had before. If you want to try it, it's enabled by default on all the channels right now. So go there, add an email, and watch it being very fast and automatically detect all your calendar and address book that you can automatically sync up. And it's beautiful. We are currently almost finished the address book implementation of the Account Hub, which we, as usual, we start from the most complicated one and then we implement the easiest one. We have the concept of eat that frog. I don't know if you ever heard of this approach to tackling difficult tasks. Eat that frog basically is if every morning the first thing that you do is eating a frog, that's probably the most difficult things that you will have to deal with the entire day. So we always approach things. Let's build first the most complicated things because the easy stuff can be done later, quicker, after we tackle the most hideous, absurd stuff. So yeah, the email is done. Address book was the second one in terms of complexity because there are multiple type of address book. We have CARDAV, LDAP, local address book, and allowing users to also automatically detect if your currently configured accounts, they have some address books that are not set up yet. We automatically detect those and we tell you, hey, you still have 2 address book that you didn't sync up. Do you want to do that? So we're almost finished. And then, yeah, everything else will happen throughout the rest of the year. We don't know if the entirety of the Account Hub will be finished by this year, but once again, the objective is for the next ESR to have Account Hub replacing also the first-time user experience and not having the account set up. We're going to keep the account set up, the current old account set up, still in the code for an entire ESR cycle. Is disabled behind a preference. So if something goes wrong with a new account type, you can always switch back to the old account setup as fail safe. But after an entire ESR cycle, we gonna delete that old code and continue making improvements and fixes to whatever comes up in the new account type. Sweet. All right, moving on. Unified Toolbar completion. We're gonna start exploring what we can do in Q3. So it's gonna start in a couple of weeks. We haven't done anything. We've been focusing on the 3 top priorities, and that's if you're curious about the explanation of how we prioritize and how we work in parallel on different things. There's a previous episode of State of the Thunder, which we explain all the stuff. Same thing for tabs. So we still have the objective to rethink entirely our tabs. Same thing for the operating system, native operating system tray. We have some very nice and exciting updates about native OS notifications. I don't know if Jeff wants to jump in and tell us all the things that he has been cooking recently about the native notifications.
Yeah, well, we switched the last operating system. We switched to native notifications was Windows, and that was, I think, in ESR 128. I have been spending some of my spare time thinking about notifications and trying to make them better because they annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's something that's really fundamental to an email program is the notifications about the new email. When a new email arrives, you should get a pop-up on the screen saying, hey, there's 3 new messages in this folder or whatever. And basically, our code that does that has not had any love for a very long time. So I'm giving it the attention that it needs. Um, coming up in ESR 140, we've added some actions to the notifications. So when the notification pops up and says you've got an email, you can just click on the mark as read button and not actually have to read it if you don't want to, which I use quite a lot because I'm constantly pinged with notifications about stuff that I don't need to read. Or you can just delete it straight away or mark it as junk or do a whole bunch of other things. In the last couple of weeks, I've been working on some other stuff there, which is kind of still under wraps. I've been reworking how we deal with the sounds you get with a new notification because that code is very old and doesn't work properly.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a rabbit hole of stuff to fix. But hopefully soon, the sound will be running from the same code as the notifications and they will happen at the same time and we'll be able to play all sorts of audio instead of some very specific types of audio because reasons. I don't understand quite why. And ultimately, all of that work is leading to something that even Alessandro hasn't seen yet, which is the ability to make notifications be quiet for a while. If you're sitting in a Zoom meeting or you're trying to concentrate on something, you don't want to be bombarded by your email notification popping up and telling you stuff all the time. So I'm going to add, I'm not quite sure how yet, a button to the UI which you can click on and say, hey, notifications, go away for an hour. And they will just leave you alone.
Incredible. Yes.
It's going to be a little bit more clever than that.
Yeah.
The more I've thought about this, I'm thinking, well, hey, actually, we have your calendar as well. And we can say, look, notifications go away until the end of this meeting that I'm currently in. Maybe we can get a little bit smart about that. I don't know. Haven't really tried that yet, but it'll be possible, I hope. And also, while I'm in there, there's a few other things I don't like about the notifications, like what happens when you get multiple emails at once. They're a little bit, the code wasn't designed to handle that, and it just tells you about the first one, which is kind of useless. One day, I will get in there and I will rejig all that code and make it all better and make it make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll find that Thunderbird gets out of your way a little bit more and gives you the information you need and only that, and lets you get on with life.
Yes. Just behaves as you expect it to behave and not be in your way. Yes. This is incredible. Yes, I've been using the new notifications, the native one, and customize the actions, and they're a godsend. I always said that one of the biggest flaw of Thunderbird in the past was compared to Apple email was the lack of proper integration. And the most glaring one was the quick actions in the notifications. And now you can do that. You can reply, delete, mark message as spam or archive it and customize those actions is fantastic. So yeah, this is moving along. Jeff has been doing global message database and this on his spare time because he doesn't sleep and he loves this product so much. So thank you so much. A couple of things that I should do here actually, because for our mental sanity, I should start marking things as we are done. So I can another couple of quick things, then we're going to jump on the backend stuff. So the settings UI, we have appearance settings. The work is in progress. We have a new section in the appearance, in the settings called appearance, where you can finally kind of control the global settings of all the appearance, the UI, the front end of Thunderbird. We're going to implement other things inside there. I'm going to move and reorganize all our settings, but the work is in progress. all of these moving down the list are priorities for next year, things that will naturally slide into the next roadmap if all the top priorities that we have for this year are completed. Next, for the backend priorities, we have Exchange email. Once again, I want to do a State of the Thunder where we give a big overview of the status of Exchange. In short, you can use it right now. It's experimental. You can turn it on with a preference. And if you have an Exchange email that supports EWS, which is the Exchange web server protocol, you can set up an account and read, write, manage your emails as a regular email client without any add-ons, without anything else. The next step will be calendar and address book integration. And then after we finish all of that and everything is solid, we're going to look at other protocols that Microsoft releases, those pesky Graph API. And there's another one that is primarily for web client, but we can simulate kind of being a web client. So that's good. Global database, this is a very large conversation that, once again, we're going to have a dedicated session, but things are underway. As Jeff mentioned at the beginning, we're going to have, by the end of the year, something that we can present in a solid state. Not sure if it's going to be fully consumable, but it's going to be incredibly forward in the way that it will enable us to actually start consuming it and step away from Mork and step away from inbox structure and folder compaction, all the horrible things we'll be had to deal with and stuff like that. And then for backend priorities, P1, we have a new email encryption. This is targeted for Q1 2026 because the conversation has been started. We have conversation in the end-to-end encryption fields, and our encryption expert has been started like planning and sharing and prototyping. Is a larger thing that is going to definitely trickle into next year. I think we can stop here and switch to the next topic. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we can continue throughout the next few months. I want to continue doing this, like looking back at our roadmap and started marking things. And here we are at the moment that we've been working on things for 6 months now, and we're only able to check 2 or 3 things, and it feels kind of disappointing. But that's development process. At the beginning, everything looks like it's going to take a million years. And then you start getting like surpassing those bumps and those most difficult things. And then things start getting a good pace. And then you're able to deliver and finish all the things that you want. So it's usually starts very, very slow. And then it takes like increases momentum, and we can deliver a lot more faster. So you're going to see by the end of the year, a lot more things landing, a lot more things completing. And then hopefully by November, hopefully even earlier, we're going to be able to release a new roadmap for 2026 and share all the priorities and all the things that we want to work on. All right. All right. The next question that I got is, can you share the dev tool tips that you wished you knew early in your career? So I have a couple of preferences that I was able to discover super quickly, or like after a few months that I was working at Thunderbird. And when I discovered them, they changed my life. They make my life so easy. But if anyone wants to jump in and share their own personal preference, like be my guest, absolutely. Let me share my Thunderbird screen on the blog RSS feed so you cannot read my email. Share. All right, so dev tools, of course, you can open it from developer tools or Control-Shift-I or whatever operating system you are. If you're on ESR or a regular release, you're going to have confirmation, hey, be careful, incoming connection. Yeah, it's fine. If you're developing on trunk, it just opens automatically. Developer tools identical to when you do an inspect the code on a website. It's absolutely the same. The 3 things that I love about developer tools are, first of all, live CSS changes for pseudo states. So if, for example, we want to select our email here, and you can see that we have different states. Like if we go on rollover, on active, on click, like all the things change. if you're building CSS and you're updating this and you need to check, I want to change the color only on hover and active state, that's kind of very painful to simulate those states and update things and then interact with the mouse and making sure that and it's always like that. Like you go and roll over the state updates on your CSS, but then you move out on the developer tool is not there. You can control those things with there's this little button, column hov, and you can control all the states of the element that you selected. So you can control the hover state, and you can see the hover state now it's permanent, and you can do a mix and match of all the states all together to see how it behaves. And it's beautiful, and your CSS updates, and it's so much easier to debug and to update things. On the same vein, you can add and remove classes if you have an element with multiple classes and you want to see how that element behaves. For example, this one, you can open the classes toggle and then enable and disable all the classes that you want without manually deleting them. So super, super helpful. The other things that I love, which was a godsend, when I was styling the up menu or any other pop-up menu that you end up interacting with, it was absolutely atrocious to like, oh, why these checkbox is 12 pixel left and 2 pixel right? I need to fix it. So I want to inspect and see what style is affecting this checkbox. It's absolutely terrible because as soon as you click out or you focus out, that pop-up closes. You have the ability to disable pop-up auto hide. So if you enable this and then you click on a pop-up, even if you click outside or you move to another window, that pop-up remains open. So you can inspect it like whatever other element. Heads up, they fixed it, but always remember to disable or re-enable the pop-up auto hide, because if you close Thunderbird with the disable pop-up auto hide, in some cases it remembers it. So you will never have a pop-up closing on you ever unless you access it back and you re-enable that. And that's it. And the last thing that I want to share that I love it so much is when we do front end for right to left and left to right languages, you can change it and you can simulate a user interface how left to right users see it. And it's inside here, the enable BD locale just switches your Thunderbird to right to left. And you see literally how it is, where all the things are. That's why in our CSS, we're very strict. We don't ever write text align left or float right. We always do inline end, inline start, block end, because that updates automatically for right to left and left to right. But at the beginning, I didn't know this was possible with Thunderbird. I learned it after a few months in developing, and it's been a godsend ever since. Anyone has any other things that they want to share or their favorite dev tools tips?
While you're in that menu, that switching to the accented locale is really handy. So you can find out what stuff we haven't put into the fluent translation system yet, because it only works with fluent translations and not with properties or DTD files, which are the old system, which we're slowly migrating away from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
these are the folder modes.
yeah, so if you go to different parts of the UI, you'll see things which are mostly in accented letters,
Mm-hmm.
because we've written them all recently and they use the new translation system. And if they're not, then they just appear as ordinary words. I think the question was, when you started out, what did you wish you knew about the developer tools? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
When I started working out on Thunderbird, I wish I knew that the developer tools were going to be this good, because when I started, they barely existed,
Yeah.
and it was terrible. But yeah, they're fantastic. I find all sorts of things that irritate me slightly about them, like something doesn't quite work. But when I compare them to what we had a decade ago,
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago, they're light years ahead of all of that. So
Yeah.
I just find them fantastic. I'm using them all the time.
Yeah.
I practically don't start up my test profile without the developer tools also opening.
Yeah.
Um, Favorite features you talked about mine. You mentioned just about everything I was thinking about, so I think I'm going to skip on that. Maybe some of our designer people who are lurking in the chat might want to chip in.
Yeah, if they want to. Yeah, I remember, what was that? Originally, we had Firebug for Firefox, which was the extension of the original
Yep.
developers tool. Yeah. It was crashing all the times, and it was only just HTML inspector basically, and able to inline change something in the rules, the CSS rules. But yeah, like I really want to, and probably, yeah, I will force Jeff to do it, to do an overview on how to use the performance tab, because this is incredibly handy when you see you're using Thunderbird and suddenly your CPU goes to 100% or your fan kicks in and you don't really know what's happening. You can record the performance, share a performance profile, and we can inspect it online without accessing your data. We just see what it's spiking, what type of code is running, and are we reflowing the UI a million times just when you change the location of one email and things like that. It helps us learn a lot. So I really want our community to get more comfortable with the performance tab, because whenever there's an issue, if you attach a performance related issue, if you attach a profile, it speeds up our ability to figure out what's wrong, and it's absolutely valuable. So,
We have a great article about that I have. I think Wayne was the one who pointed me towards it, and I have shared that with many a person. And we will make sure that in the notes we put the link how to do that performance profile.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of
Yes.
course.
And I'll add that as a person who is triaging bugs and trying to figure out what is going wrong when you file a bug, having a performance profile for performance issues is so helpful. Um, Oftentimes, it can lead us, or at least point out exactly where the problem is, even if we don't know what we can do about it at the time. There's a lot of information in a performance profile, which is really handy for us.
Mm-hmm. And also daunting
And
sometimes. So many information.
yeah, it's a lot more useful than a bug report that says Thunderbird took an age to do this. Cool, that's
Yeah,
really helpful. Here's a
Thunderbird is
performance
slow.
profile, right? That is really helpful.
All right. So the last question was phrased this way: I feel like the frequency of donation appeals in Thunderbird has increased, but it seems that MZLA is doing very well with millions of dollars in revenues. Why do you keep asking for donations? Yay, easy questions. No, it's a very easy question, actually. The answer is quite long. I try to summarize it in four major points. In general, we need to keep paying the people that work for Thunderbird, and money run out pretty quickly because paying engineers and servers and keeping the lights on is just very expensive. So we keep asking for money because we constantly keep need money. Um, the other reason is that we don't have currently, as of today, we don't have any other revenue stream that can help us support Thunderbird. We don't have any financial contribution or partnership or paid products that can bring some cash flow inside Thunderbird. So we rely currently 100% on donations. And we try to be honest, and we try to not bother our users too much. So in this question says it feels like the frequency of donation appeals has increased, which is true. It has increased compared to 4 years ago, 5 years ago, which we never asked for donations. We only put a pop-up, hey, please help us in the start page when we had a new version, a new ESR version, and that's it. we started experimenting a little bit. Let's do a donation appeal when we do a new version of Thunderbird. Just do one, just a pop-up in a tab. Then we started, let's do another donation appeal at the end of the year, because usually that matches with the end of the fiscal year, or when corporations or other legal entities, they do donations to, like, they have a budget for donations. So let's try to hit that specific time. And then we noticed that, okay, we could do an ESR donation appeal and an end of year donation appeal, but then we get the majority of the amount of money all at the end of the year. And most of the times, because we hit the end of the year, the larger portions of the donation, they start trickling in the first couple of months of the new year. That's absolutely atrocious in terms of allocating budget for a roadmap, or allocating resources, or just scheduling any sort of budget planning for the year, because we might get money, we might not get money, we might get everything all together in a month, or we might get everything all together in 6 months. Like, we don't know. It's very unpredictable. So we're trying to be a little bit more mathematical about it and spread things around. Right now we are, and we decided to go with 4 donations per year, 4 donation appeals, which is 1 donation appeal per season. So you, as a user, you should only see 1 donation appeal every 4 months, which is very low for a free product that is gonna stay free, remain free forever. And we literally build things to service you, and we try to make it sustainable and keep it alive. 1 tab pop-up every 4 months, we think, is very low. It's very low impact. Shouldn't be distracting. We're not putting ads inside your email. We're not doing any sketching. We're literally opening a tab and tell you, like, you want to donate? No, close it. That's it. We don't bother you for the next 4 months. Having, though, that cadence, having 1 at the beginning of the year, 1 on the ESR, 1 on September, and 1 around the end of the year, helps us to have a much more predictable cash flow, a much more predictable roadmap and budgeting discussions before the end of the year for the next year. And it helps us grow a little bit more steadily and handle this type of cash flow impact more programmatically. We're trying, in general, to make it sustainable. The larger question is why we keep asking for donations. We had some users telling us, if users want to support you, they will support you. You don't need to bother them, because if you bother them, they will go away. I can say with almost certainty that that's not true, because we have data to back this up. If we don't ask for money, we don't get money. Thunderbird never asked for money before, never got, like, the donations that we were getting were a couple of $100,000. Maybe like we got $600,000 when we put a little donate button in the start page. Once we started asking for money and being very honest, like, hey, we have 20 million users, we have 1% of them donate, and this is our budget. We share our budget, we share our revenues, we share what we spend on personnel and servers and things like that. Users responded very loudly, and our donations skyrocketed and enabled us to hire more people to work better and have more aggressive objectives and things like that. And in general, we want to keep Thunderbird competitive. And literally, Thunderbird is fighting against massive corporations with billions of dollars and infinite cash flow. And we don't have the luxury. And we decided to walk the righteous path and not put any ads, not sell your data, be privacy and ethically, and be ethical and privacy respecting, and do the right things. Do not the right thing, do the normal things, where, like, everybody should do the normal things. It should be out of question. Like, selling user data is not normal, so we should do the normal thing. We decided to do the normal thing, so we're not valuable for investors, we're not valuable for anybody else, and we're only valuable for our users. That's why we ask the users, hey, can you support us? Because we're doing everything for you. Hopefully that doesn't sound like guilt, like making users guilty, like you should pay us before. But that's not my intention. I don't know. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Anybody help me out? Don't leave me alone here. Ryan, please join here sometimes. Just
I'll
leave me alone.
chime in. I think that we've had other open source projects who have maybe been in situations like ours that are like, if we don't have donations, this thing that you love is going to go away, which was a position we were in not that long ago. And like we've seen projects like Blender, we've seen projects like KDE kind of use us as a model. And I think that's great. Not only that we've brought our project from barely surviving to thriving now, but that we can show other open source projects who we want to see do amazingly well too, to show them a model. And I am definitely going to link probably, I think Ryan's Guadek keynote from last year, where he talks about this. And so if you're listening to this and you're a maintainer or involved with an open source project and you've been feeling like we need donations to help us, but how do we start doing that? We would like to kind of show projects that they can do this and their users will respond positively. And I think if you think of like 4 times per year, that's not bad. I mean, all of us, I think, get barraged by emails. Donate this, donate that, subscribe to this. For a year, I think that's a good balance.
Yeah, good points. 100%. I agree. Thank you. Thanks for jumping in. Yes, and we are, as usual, every year we release our financial statements and we show how much we invest in every specific area. We're gonna do the same this year. In our stats.thunderbird.net, we have financial statement. Those need to be manually updated. We're kind of behind that, but we're gonna take care of that. So everything is out in the open. You can literally see where all your donations go. We have a half-baked idea on how we can potentially improve that area. I don't know how feasible it is, but it would be nice to show where the money actually goes, like how much it costs to build a new database, how much it costs to do conversation view, how much it costs to whatever, just like build and release ESR and ship it and have a server that supports millions of downloads per week and stuff like that. We need to collect all the data, but our objective is to be as transparent as possible. But yeah, thank you for the question. We really like these very hard questions. Please bring them more, share them wherever you want, and we're more than happy to answer honestly and the best we can. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening on whatever platform you are. As usual, check all the links that are in the description of all the things that you're consuming. It's going to be useful. The next session is in a couple of weeks. If you're interested in actively participating, please join our mailing list. We have the TB planning mailing list. Is open to everybody. Every time we have one of these sessions, I share the Zoom link there publicly so anybody can access. And yeah, feel free to ask questions and join in the next one. Thanks you, everybody, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.